Hey guys, EST here. Still a little messed up from COVID, kind of having trouble hearing and breathing and other human things. But I'm going to make this video because I'm just too excited. This shipment just came in and I want to show off some pros, some cons, some mistakes, what to buy, what not to buy. And then I'm going to let you decide because it's really just pros and cons and nothing's really perfect. But mobile power. I mean, I'm running a light off this battery bank. It's been about 15 minutes and it's still only drawn 4%. That's because inside of this battery pack are just a bunch of these cells all lined up in parallel. Where did I get these cells? Well, I paid about $8 a piece retail for those Sony Murata batteries, and I paid, I don't know, probably too much for those counterfeit pieces of garbage right up to about here. And as for the rest of these, well, YouTube won't let me show you where I got them from, so, it could be anywhere. Certainly not a laptop or power drill battery where they may or may not have 18650s, where you actually have to be, it is really dangerous to take these out. Just get 100 pack of some good ones from a good reseller, not a Chinese one. Even if you have piles and piles and piles of OEM batteries, I mean, I'm just saying. It's safer, it's better, but like I said, these were free and these were quite expensive. But you can get about 100 good batteries for like $200. Just bulk, like, I don't know, 2,700 milliamp hours a piece. They're literally almost as good as these, unless you want to do something crazy with it. Like, I don't know, run a car or something. So, the problem with this style right here, one, is that this is super old. It has a light built in, which, that's lovely, great. They're all kind of garbage, just who needs a light? Now that said, I can run this light for like, I don't know, probably 40, 50, 60 hours without depleting the batteries. So, I mean, that's like emergency house lights, all self-contained. So that is a thing. But with or without one, this thing only does, I think it's 5 watts and then 10 watts. Absolute old school USB 2.0, 15 years ago style of charger. All these new ones that I got here, let me see if I can get a better shot. There we go. Every single one is shown here, plus a certain white one that I have that's not displayed here because it's currently off-site. They all do fast charging. So we're talking 9 volt, 12 volt, not just 5 volt. It can charge a smartphone at like double, triple, quadruple the rate. The white one that I got, it's a very popular model. It's real similar to this, but I think it takes 6, and it likes to overheat when you're running it full. So a lot of these battery banks will have, they'll get dangerously hot. What I consider to be, hot to the touch is dangerously hot. I'm sure they're spec'd for like 100 Celsius, but I don't trust Chinese engineers. Call me crazy. But you're running, upwards of 22 watts through those things. Yeah, they're going to get a little warm after, half an hour. So like this right here, it supports fast charge on certain ports. It has a light. It's got USB micro in. It's got USB-C in. That's actually B-type micro, but whatever. What's the difference? Out 1 and out 2. I think that one is not fast charging. That one is, I believe. And then they got a bunch of fake specs on the back. They don't know what you're putting in here. It's ridiculous. But it will do 9 volt and 12 volt auto sense. It's got all the chips for it. If you look at a lot of these, they're pretty much the same PCB, which is printed circuit board. I mean, it's dissimilar, but if you look at the components, I mean, they just put them in a slightly different spot. I'm sure some are superior to others, and I paid a little different amount for some of these, but it really comes down to design, because everyone that supports fast charge that I've seen actually does it. But here's the problem with ones like this and this. Once you close them, you are never getting them back open again. That's the design. Now, I did drop this one and crack it a little bit. So that's another thing, is this plastic is not very nice. But this is a nice slider cover. So watch out for that. Now, I will say that some of the newer models are slider covers. It even says lock and open. So this is meant to repeatedly come off and go on again if you need to swap out the cells manually instead of charging them inside of here. Now, this is a pretty good charger. It's not a full BMS, a battery management system. It just goes to like a plate. So what it's going to do is, out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 12 battery cells that are going to go in here, it's going to charge until one of them peaks at 4.2 volts, and then it's going to stop all the rest. So it's going to charge to your weakest battery. Now, a BMS would not do that. Unfortunately, you never find one of these with a BMS. They're not particularly expensive. It's just I have literally never seen one. You'd have to build it yourself. Probably have to 3D print the case. Then you need a 3D printer, and you're probably already an electrician. So I like this. Carrying handle's kind of nice. I don't know if I'd trust it, but you could take it off. But this plastic, man, boy, I could crack. If I just went like this with my hand real hard, I could crack this. I don't like it when I've got that much weight in it, and, well, you may have already spotted this behemoth. This one's pretty famous online. It's a new model that just came out. It holds 20. It's 10 and 10. There is no way that this cheap plastic is ready for that much weight. I mean, if I dropped this thing and cracked the outside with only, I don't know, 7 cells in it, 6 cells, I don't know how many are in there. Imagine how much 20 are going to weigh. And then the energy density, if this doesn't look dangerous, then you must not have spent time around batteries. So, yikes. But man, this thing's got some ports. I mean, I don't even know what technically one of those does. You can charge 2 devices at once. I've actually done that on similar models. And, I mean, you might have noticed these are running in parallel. So, if I just take one battery and put it in, I bet you I could turn it on. Hey, look at that. Perfect. That's cool. Another thing that I ran into is horribly inaccurate percentages on some of these. The white model that I got, now besides overheating, it also likes to drastically misrepresent the amount of voltage. And I'm using kind of older cells, so if anything, it should be exaggerating in the other direction. But when it hits about 4% remaining, you've got about 75% remaining. So the accuracy leaves a lot to be desired, but I'm using really funny cells. I don't know what kind of cells these were made for, but still, they all pretty much go from 3.7 volts on up to 4.2. That should be what the voltmeter is calibrated to. It's really a crapshoot. I mean, it's just by model, and I haven't even tested some of these, but like this style, you could tell. When you put this in, it is never coming off again. That is not how it's designed. So you put this in, if I slap that down, it is now never coming apart without breaking it. I don't like that. If you got bad cells, then you've got a bad device. Then you got to tape it back together and you might as well just get one that slides. It's so much easier. So I believe this is a slider model because it's got little securing screws that you can use if you really want. Otherwise, I don't know if it even slides. I think it just goes on and you put some screws in it. That's it. And it, I believe, came with the screws. Look at that. So that's kind of nice. I mean, you need a screwdriver, which is a pain and not really a survival item, but I do like this. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cells, all spaced out pretty nice, comfortably. They got a little room to breathe without double stacking and running into thermal issues, although the battery would not be the thermal issues. This would be the thermal issues. It's got really nice peripherals, a single LED. It's got a percentage display on there. It does 5 volt, 2.4 amp. It does quick charge, allegedly. It's just nice. I kind of like it. It's probably my favorite one. I mean, they're all made out of pretty much the same plastic, but it reopens. It's a good capacity. It's not too big to fit in some pockets. Definitely not too big for a backpack. So somewhere between 6 and 8 cells is good. I did get my brother one of these that only holds like 3 or 4. It was real compact and it was really well built and it worked fine. Really, really fast output, but boy, you just deplete that thing so quick. It could barely charge your phone once. So speaking of that, why do I have one of these? Well, just because it's a very open design, let's put it that way. But I ordered 2 just in case one didn't work because it takes so darn long to get here, and I wanted to see if there's any consistency. And well, you might have noticed I already burned out that chip. Yeah, I almost burned down my entire house. So how'd that happen? I took a battery. I said, oh, that looks about right. And I put it in backwards. Positive to negative, negative to positive. It immediately lit this on fire. So this gets a 0 out of 10. I thought this would be just a nice little lightweight, compact, okay, I stole this out of my flashlight, or I need to recharge my flashlight. That is a charger and a discharger. So we got this flashlight with the nice little actual sleeve. Make sure you get those. I actually labeled it. It's a Sanyo UR18650Y with a mere 2,000 milliamp hours. That thing's ancient. It's like 15 years old. Got it out of a, yeah, look at that. I mean, you can tell with full lighting on that this is really stupidly bright. And the Sanyo ones, I don't know, I think they do like maybe 7 to 15 amps or something, but this doesn't draw anywhere near that. So it's just a good cell. Despite its age, it's reliable. And how would I get some charge back in it? Well, normally what I would do is use this little X-Tar charger. This is kind of cool, so let's just throw one in there. There we go. It has reverse polarity protection. It'll tell you the initial voltage. It'll be very cautious. So it's 4.15, 4.2. It's going to say this is full because all these are full. And it'll tell you how many milliamp hours it's putting in there. So this might have, drifted a little bit, gone down just a little bit, but usually from dead empty to full, like these Samsung 26Cs, you'll get, I don't know, 2,400 milliamp hours out of them, even at that age. And these allegedly 3,000 milliamp hour Murata batteries from Sony, I believe it is, they will get upwards of like 2,900, 2,950. I've seen it. And I believe they have protectors inside of there. So there are different head styles. So like this right here, I think this might have a protective chip built into it. It looks like it does. That's what they would consider not flat style. And oh, I'm going to find one that isn't. Just wait a minute. Now that one has a full-blown protector right there, and they actually are a little bit longer than other batteries, which can cause issues. Boy, these might all have protectors. I thought I had some without. I don't know. They probably all lit on fire. Get ones with protective circuits if you can. Otherwise, if you've got a really good stable charger that's going to be really safe, well, then who cares? Now, that said, I have had these, not quite thermal runaway, but dissipate thermal while on here. I'm like, 3,200 milliamp hours, that doesn't seem right. They can't hold that. I touch it, yeah, it's just shorted. They've got a little tiny short from top to bottom. I believe they call that battery dendrites. And yeah, it'll just sit there and dissipate electricity, get hotter and hotter and hotter. Luckily, that thing can only do about half an amp. And half an amp at, 4 volts is nothing. It's like 2 watts. So luckily, the battery chassis can dissipate that. So if you've got like some charger that claims they can do, some crazy amount of charging, one, that's not healthy for the battery, and two, it's a lot less safe if you don't have protected batteries. So would I pay more for ones that have individual protection circuits in the top after measuring and making sure that they would fit in something like this? If I was absolutely made of money, probably. Otherwise, I would just get a pouch style of this and just, who cares, Pouch style batteries are a lot more common in off-the-shelf battery packs these days. Now, they don't have metal around them. They're a lot more susceptible to dropping and piercing, and they blow up like pillows when they short out, but they are a little more efficient, more common these days, even in modern laptop batteries. All you'll see is flat batteries. So now let's have a little fun. It is nighttime, so let's see if my solar panel here can actually run the X-Tar with no draw just off of my studio lights. Oh my gosh, it actually can. Barely. Oh, it's kind of power cycling. Okay, yeah. First of all, this is not a 5 or 10 watt or whatever. I think this thing does like 3. And secondly, you'd want a bigger one, more stable one anyway. I've got one that's about double the size that got way better specs. So get a big one, the biggest that you possibly can. So that by itself ain't going to do it. You can't really combine two to run this because it's just USB. So you got a little problem there. Always test your gear. Now, out in full sunlight, you might be able to charge one battery off it, but boy, 2 watts plus overhead? I don't know. It would actually be a little rough. But this little tiny charger, this little guy, would I trust this? In the dark, no. Maybe if I took some red nail polish and put a big red dot on positive, which even right here, yeah, this is positive, this is negative. I can barely see it. That's just so stupid. There's no spring. These are identical. This thing is a fire hazard. It's a danger. Now, it's got a little button. You press that. It'll light up the 4 LEDs for like 25%, 50, 75, 100. This is a pretty nice board. I mean, look at this. You're basically looking at just about the same thing. So it's got a little USB in, USB out, or 2 ins, or I don't even remember. I haven't quite fully tested this yet because it already failed. It failed the safety test. So, not a fan. Not a fan at all. Any board that doesn't have polarity protection or like a diode against reverse polarity, I don't like it. I do believe that's actually a hyperpowerful LED too, so let me very carefully put in a correct cell the correct way. Okay, it would help if I wasn't using the one that was burned out. Whoops. I need to start labeling these. Here we go. Let's make sure I get this right because I only have one left. You can see why I absolutely despise these. If it wouldn't have burnt out, by the way, we might have had a full short, like a thermal runaway event. Oh, that is hard to get in there. And this doesn't have much of a protective cap. These just are not in the right spot. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, had to modify a little bit with pliers, so this fails twice. Let's see what we got here. Okay, it's at 75%, even though it's not. I verified this battery's at 100%, but okay. And if I double tap this, that's usually how it works. Whoops. As I hopefully don't do this with wet fingers and short it out in the wild, in the forest. Oh, come on. Well, it just really doesn't want to turn that LED on. Let's press and hold, I guess, maybe. Yeah, there it is. Okay, well, we got a little flashlight. It's blue LED. That's classy. Okay, it doesn't really help you see. You really want green or red, but it's kind of weak. All right, not much of a flashlight. And I would try charging this thing, but I don't know. I don't really want to burn my house down, so I'm going to go try this outside later. But this is a massive, massive fail. It's so dangerous. It's so poorly made. I got it for like $2. I thought it was be like a neat little thing where you grab 5 of them. Let me introduce you to something that's going to be in a future video. This is called a buck converter. So what you can get is you can get these with a much simpler circuit. It's just a DC circuit. It just charges. It's like the most basic battery charger ever. And then run this to it. So you'd have to solder in the leads to positive and negative. They go right there. But, I mean, they got little pads. Like, you could be terrible at soldering and still, get away with it, just saying. And then it just outputs several watts. So I think this model is 36 volts max on down to 3 volts. So it allegedly has like a step-up coil, it has like a step-down thing or some kind of VRM, I don't know. But you can get buck converters that run car voltage, so around like 10.4 to 14.4 volts. And that's their range. Higher than that, they'll probably light on fire or turn off. I mean, it's Chinese, it'll light on fire. Or you can get ones that allegedly do any kind of voltage, just crazy stuff. So you can hook these up to your neighbor's solar garden lights after they get eaten by zombies and you've got a power source. You could strap an alternator to your bicycle and have no idea what voltage is coming out. Some are probably between, 8 and 15. And this would still drop it to USB at a fairly high amount of amps. So if you buy the right one, you can get some serious mileage out of this. Now, a lot of buck converters are old school and they only go 5 volts. You can tell that, whoops. But they're also really tough and durable, especially if you drop them in the middle of filming. I mean, there's twice, really? They don't weigh enough to injure themselves. It's a circuit board. You could crush it. You could snap it in half, but there's not much cross-section in here. So these are pretty durable. You just get a bag of those, and you can charge anything USB out of any kind of DC circuits. Alternating, not going to work. DC, you need direct. So let's take my best battery, basically brand new, top of the line, best specs, cram it into this thing right here. We're just going to run it in parallel. Let's plug it into the big boy on top and see what we get. Here we go. It's still at 100%. Okay, fast charge turns on. Sometimes that symbol is actually in Chinese, which is hilarious. So now we know fast charge is working. Let's see what we get. And I was going to say, let's see what we get, but this one doesn't actually have the display. So I'm just going to hook it into my camera. Also known as my main phone. Yes, I have 2 phones. Fast charge enabled. Boom. Verified it. So, this would charge my phone from, 20% up to like 80% in probably 30 minutes. I mean, these things are pretty good. Now, we're going to start losing percentage pretty quick, even with the Murata battery here, but, it's 3,000 milliamp hours, and my phone is like a little higher than that. So you might think, you put 20 in there, you could charge your phone about 20 times. There's some loss, there's some thermal, there's the voltage difference and all that. It's not quite that tidy, but it's not like you're running it through an inverter either, where you'd lose like 30% just from like the power factor and the inefficiency. So this is pretty cool. It's a little too big. Like I said, I think the blue one, without even fully testing it yet, is my favorite. If anything is a complete nightmare, I'll put it in the comments, but I just wanted to show off the different options, how they work, how you hook them up, make sure you have the right cables. I got cables that are certified for fast charge because you might blame the battery bank with batteries and find out you got a junk cable with an insufficient amount of wire gauge. So check this out. Okay, you might call it a continuity error, but I call it just flexing. 88% remaining in this battery pack after running this large of a light. Yeah, that's a lot of light output. So, you get energy densities higher than this. Oh, watch out. Watch out. Now, the one thing is that my phone, when it's turned straight off, can charge on, a little 10-watt piece of crap like this. Old school design, no quick charge. But it could do it in half the time or less with quick charge. So why not get quick charge? It's going to be a newer model. It's probably going to be better made. It's going to have better components. Definitely look for that. So that's about it. That's all you need to know about 18650s, putting them into battery packs, charging your electronics with it, or just run them loose inside of a cool $3 flashlight. This flashlight is absolutely amazing. I have seen better flashlights for $100, but this is so close and it's so completely sufficient because you can focus it all you want. I mean, this thing, it could do spotlights. You can flash people to blind them. I won't do that in case anybody's epileptic out there. But, yeah, multiple different modes. I wish it had a selector instead of just doing it sequentially. That's kind of annoying. But you just pop one battery out, pop one in. You can actually use these just as big 20 at a time chargers. Put it on solar, leave it for the day. Try to keep this out of the sunlight, so don't get dark-colored ones. That's the other thing. But then no matter what, try to cover it up with something, a towel, whatever. Just keep the sun from shining on this because sunlight and heat will destroy lithium batteries. But you ever try to run, one of those USB solars on a 15-foot lead, you're going to notice real quick that the voltage drops off. And they're already very insufficient at that size. But of course you could charge these in a car, you could charge these off of some kind of little mini generator, there's all kinds of options. You can charge them battery to battery. I had a little, lead acid $30 riding lawnmower battery. I had a solar panel to it, a charge controller. You guys probably saw it in the other video. It cost like $60 to build the whole thing. And it would charge up one of these every day. I would run this in my car to work. And cool, I was going green. Ooh, who cares? That is such an insignificant amount of anything, carbon emissions or whatever. It probably would have been better to just not build any of this than the amount of emissions I was saving. But it was cool because I could just repeatedly do it. I did it like every day for 100 days all summer, and it worked. So bare minimum, I wouldn't have like a solar rig that could run air conditioning or a refrigerator, but I would have one that can power my devices forever. I would have flashlights and cell phones. And, like I said, educational PDFs on my phone. We got foraging, we got medical stuff on there, stuff I haven't even read yet, because if I read it now, I'm not going to remember it 10 years from now, so I just leave it on my phone. Like I said, offline GPS apps, all kinds of alternate communication apps, encrypted communication apps, all that stuff. I have got my phones decked out. And this is an older model I got on Facebook for $80 just to be my little secondary phone. So what you can do is just instead of trading in your phone, keep it, or just buy one off Facebook. I mean, most of them are stolen, I've noticed. This one I'm pretty sure isn't because of who I got it from, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, try to look for somebody not sketchy and who knows how to spell. Criminals don't know how to spell. And then there you go. You got all the information at your fingertips. You get a case on it. This thing is tough as nails. It's got a little protector. You get a little flashlight in there just in case. I mean, you could rig it up with like point-to-point communication apps that don't require cell phone towers. There's all kinds of crazy stuff you could do with cell phones, especially these days. They're getting tougher, they're getting better, the batteries are getting more durable. People will say, oh, your cell phone's useless and a grid down because once the batteries go out, where are you going to plug it into a tree? No, because I'm not a caveman and I'm not an idiot. I'm not a dumb 60-year-old on YouTube who likes to rant about, I hate technology because I don't understand it. Nah, on this channel, we embrace technology. Thank you very much. And speaking of that, you can very easily light a fire with these batteries. I'm not going to go into the various ways to do it, but you short them with any that paper clip, you got a fire. Oh, and you can also use all of these systems to charge up an electric plasma arc lighter, which are tough as nails. I've got some that are 10 years old, they're still functioning. So electricity is your friend, especially on smaller scales. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the good information, leave a like, maybe subscribe, check out my other cool content, and I'll see you guys later. Hopefully when I don't have COVID lungs.